Hello, and welcome to the How I Tested That podcast. I'm your host, David J. Bland. I'm an author and advisor, and I'm fascinated with testing early stage ideas. I've helped companies all around the world, and in this podcast, I connect with entrepreneurs and innovators who had the courage to test their ideas with real people in the market, with sometimes surprising results. Please join us as we explore the ups and downs of experimentation together. In this episode, we interview Dylan Lamb. Dylan is an entrepreneur and a growth marketing expert with a focus on e-commerce. His superpower is helping companies grow their brands on platforms like Amazon. Dylan shares how he started out by bootstrapping an eBay business from his apartment and testing out what worked and what didn't. He then took what he learned to successfully scale the business through automation and dropshipping. While doing this, Dylan began to understand the importance of building a brand in e-commerce and how crowdfunding platforms can help you create a community of early adopters. Dylan and I wrap up our conversation by discussing how AI is influencing his day-to-day work in everything from content creation to physical product design. Enjoy. Welcome to the podcast, Dylan.
Thank you for having me, David.
I'm excited to have you here. You have such a fascinating background in e-commerce and specifically crowdfunding, and you've tested so many things over the years. But before we jump in, could you give a little bit of your background to our audience, what you've done and what kind of led you to where you are today?
Sure. I guess I have a background that is not very interesting because I have done all the boring stuff as an entrepreneur. I didn't get a lot of funding rounds, or I didn't do a lot of interesting promotion. All I do is we bootstrap everything from scratch, try to just grind our ass to start from eBay. Okay, that's where I started. I started to import stuff. Back in the days, I was in uni. I was traveling economic class, and then I only have 52 kg of luggage I can bring to UK because I was studying, right? All the things I have is already in the UK. So when I back to Hong Kong, which is where I'm from, I just literally bought the cheap gadget like cables, like microphones, on-the-go adapters for phones, and then put in the luggage, and then bring it to the UK, and then start selling in eBay, right? Boring as heck, right? And then things just started scaling. Just we didn't realize that back in the days was around 2013. That was the time that e-commerce is booming, right? There is no Amazon. Amazon FBA just got started during that time, and then we sell pretty well on eBay. We were doing around 100 units in eBay, and then I was packing stuff every single day, sellotape, and then put in the letter, and then just ship it to people, writing all the things. And I bought my first kind of printer to print the label instead of writing because my writing doesn't really look good. And then things just get heated. I have to started to talk to manufacturers from China, and then we actually started to get pallet boxes to my accommodation, my student accommodation back in the days. And then things scale so fast, and then we send pallet to my student accommodation. The reception started to tell me, you shouldn't be doing that because I'm blocking the hallway. when the pallet comes to the accommodation, I literally block the reception, block the hallway, and I don't live on the first floor. I live on the third floor, right? So I have to take it to the lift, get to the third floor, drag it to the end of the hallway, and that's the idea, right? But, when the pallet comes, I still have to send it to eBay and Amazon, right? But sending to eBay and Amazon, I have to apply the labels, right? I have to also apply the labels and also the boxes label as well, the product label as well, right? And so I was laying down the hallway from far end to the end to end, just you line it up, and then I was bowing and then walking, one label, two label, three label, 100 label, 200 label at a time, right? So that's my story. I do everything and I just pack it all up. Once I label pack all, put it in a box, and then whenever the customer come, whenever the UPS come, I would just send them the boxes and boxes. So that process is gonna be 3 weeks or 2 weeks until the UPS come over to collect the boxes. So I got no choice. When my accommodation is full of product already, then I have to put outside of the hallway. There's a time that someone stole my product as well. The whole box is gone overnight, So that happened, when you live in a student accommodation. So yeah, from eBay to Amazon, and then scale to e-commerce. So you can see that there is different people. They scale from dropshipping, where you don't have to even touch the product. But I don't scale in that way. I scale from ordering product, And then once people bought, they'll get a bigger fund, and then I order more product, and then more sales, and then we order more product. So that's the way I scales. And then at one point, I stopped. I need to place order that comes with minimal order quantity, right? Because if doing 1,500, that's fine. But then I want to get a cheaper price, like 2,000, so I can get an even cheaper price. And so I started to help a Chinese seller to run advertising on Amazon, on Facebook, on eBay. So just like a form of like service fee. So I can even bootstrap more to make the brand bigger. So today my brand is like a 7-figure brand already. It was bootstrapped from scratch, from bootstrapping from order after order, plus the service fee that I was like the Omi rank that I started, to now that we are also a e-com brand and also a service brand in the same time.
Wow, that's amazing. I love how scrappy you were and all the things you've learned. I'm wondering two things. One, how many hours a day did you spend doing this? And two, at what point did you start to automate? Because you mentioned you got a label maker or printer. And when did it become so all-consuming that you felt as if you had enough funds to start buying things and making it more scalable?
Yeah, back in the days, like as a student, our job is not to study. It's to have fun, right? so like of course, my final year assignment is actually just a mere pass. I pass it, that's fine. I'm not like a first honor student, second honor student, but I pass it, that's fine. That's all I need. But then like I could have done better if I didn't have this business, to be fair, because I spent too much time to really learn things. Like back in the days, there's no courses. We are really trying to try and error about what went wrong, what went south, and then we'll just improvise after we understand the process and systems. When we started on eBay, we are pretty manual labor intensive. Like I am the one who are actually studying and labeling, right? And then I was labeling stuff. I am listening to podcasts. I'm learning from others as well. And also learning like how to run Facebook ads, etc. And then come the day like, right, really, the post office in Royal Mail in the UK knows me. I'm pretty famous there because I'm always like having two kind of like shopping bag every single day with back in the days, I'm riding a electronic unicycle, like a Segway. I ride it to there, I get off, and I have my two shopping bag, put it on the floor, started to print, and then stick, and then print off. And I realized, hey, that's too much for me. I have been doing that for half a year. And Amazon FBA come, I realized that's something that I can just let Amazon do it. So I started to send it to Amazon to let the fulfillment warehouse handle everything, to let them do the pick and pack, so I don't have to do that, right? So that's the first kind of like automation during my e-commerce life, right? Of course, like right now, there's like a lot of like automation in our company. So me as an entrepreneur, I started selling on FBA, and then I started to work on the hiring VA. Right now we have around 45 VA in the company. So that's the another kind of automation. And then, of course, like we implement the company system optimization, where we optimize our system using Zapier. So the WooCommerce order and the Amazon order are going to sync, right? That's another automation. And then, of course, right now, using AI to write copy, generate video, create courses, to create SOP as well. So those are different kind of automation from start to nowadays. Like every single new technology we will implement to our business to make sure that they are 100% optimized to just increase the efficiency of the company.
So it sounds like you learned manually, and to the point where you became so overwhelmed, you had this realization of, well, I have to automate this in some way. And this is back in 2013, right? A lot of the stuff you're talking about now didn't exist. So you didn't have a lot of options. And I imagine if you had all the tools today back then, it would have been very different, but you were very early on. And I want to unpack a little bit there, because you mentioned your business model and then drop shipping. And I just want your take on drop shipping, because I've heard very differing points of view about how people could be successful drop shipping, and maybe give me your opinion on what you think of drop shipping today.
So drop shipping is definitely a business model. The reason why people think that dropshipping is either a scam or either doesn't work is because they didn't treat dropshipping the right way. Because dropshipping is just a vehicle on starting a business. Amazon FBA, a vehicle to start a business, right? Starting selling on Etsy, another way, right? So When we start a business, you have a different way to choose, right? Whereas dropshipping is just the one of the most convenient way because you don't have to touch the product and then you just look for the supplier from China, right? But then the reason why it doesn't work for a lot of people because they think that dropshipping is easy. You can just get it from supplier, ship it to someone else, you make the profit, right? But it's not scalable because they didn't think about the brand kind of views. If they are thinking dropshipping product, one thing at a time and just make the margin from one product, it doesn't work. You have to build a story. You have to do the copywriting, build the image, build the branding to really connect to the audience so you can build a business out of it. What do you mean by build a business out of it? It's because the people is coming back. It's because you can have a community of loyal followers. And that is the two most important reason why a lot of them is fail. They are not building a community and they're not trying to build a brand. And therefore, it doesn't work for them, right? Building a brand requires a lot of effort in terms of money, in terms of your time, right? And you have to do the right research, find the right audience, speak the right message, run ad on the right angles. And therefore, a lot of them think, hey, I have done once. I've done exactly what you have said already, kind of, but you have done once only. In general, I guess if you haven't done it 10 times, you wouldn't be able to find the right thing, right? You might have started dropshipping, but you definitely didn't have a plan in your mind to really make it work. Because to make it work, it's not overnight things. It's not like 1 month things. You have to really, really know how to leverage the asset you have collected and then turn them into a lifetime buyer to increase the average order value or to increase the lifetime value. And therefore, this is what people is lacking. They are not realizing that dropshipping is not a business model. Dropshipping is just a start of a business. It's just a method for you to start a business. This business that you are really starting is to build a brand. Otherwise, you will just eventually fail in your business adventure.
Thank you for sharing your insights on that. I do think that sheds some light on why there's such polarizing views on dropshipping. And it almost sounds as if, as you were bootstrapping your business, the skills you learned, especially from the services point of view, ended up being a business in itself. Maybe you could help us understand, how are you working with these companies in China, helping them run ads and everything? It feels like you learned that along the way from bootstrapping your own.
Yeah. So the way that we help them because firstly, back in the days, like in China, there's a lack of talent because they don't really know how to localize or write a good copy back in the days. So I become the intermediate about connecting the West and then the East together to help them to write a good copy, to help them test the right message, to tell them what to do the A/B testing. And so I naturally become the go-to guy when it comes to running Facebook ad, Google ad. And I was the one who actually run my Amazon ad. So Amazon ad was the first kind of ad that I ran in the past. And then I went to Facebook ad. Amazon ad is just like a Google ad, like search ad, display ad. Back in the days, we call it this headline ad, but right now they call it sponsor brand. And so the whole Amazon thing is actually come from Google, right? And therefore, I naturally translate my skill set to Google as well. And also, back in the days, one of the things that people think that I'm good because I know how to set up the trackings. I know how to use GA4, back in the days called Universal Analytic, and I know how to check everything to make sure that conversion is good, right? And therefore, people just even that they go to other people, most of the agency, they wouldn't be able to set up the tracking properly, and therefore the result is not going to be as accurate as I do. And so when I was doing a gig in China, when I talk about how the tracking can potentially impact the advertising, people was just mind blown, right? Because of the pixel setup that I was able to make it accurate. And I think that become one of the major things that connecting me with the Chinese brands that they have there.
So you're offering this almost connection, like you said, between East and West. And also, we talk a lot about experimentation, but if you can't track things properly, it's really hard to know if your tests are successful or not. Right? It seems very obvious, but I think once you get down in the weeds of the integrations and how you track things, if that is not set up properly, we just don't know. So we can do all the different designs and all the different copy and everything. And if we don't have proper integration, we just shrug our shoulders and try to pick one that we liked. And I think that happens a lot. People don't have the skill set to know what actually influenced other things. So that's fascinating to me. So you bootstrapped, learned all these skills, giving talks in China. Other people started coming to you for advice and help. And in that journey, I remember we were talking before the podcast about Kickstarter and crowdfunding and how that ties in. And I would love to explore that a little bit with you, because I think they're also similar to dropshipping. There's often very polarizing views on whether Kickstarter or Indiegogo or crowdfunding works. So help me understand how you stumbled into that world and how you sort of tested your way through that.
This is a very interesting story because there's about the my brand part and also the client side part as well. So back in the days, I always know Kickstarter is a way to get more fun, because remember, like, I was always looking for fun to grow my brand. And so Kickstarter became one of my vehicles to launch my first project. I think my first project went up to $120K US. So I was like, oh, wow. It opens my mind to me, as in, like, I don't have to, because if you remember what I said is, I always bootstrap I get more sales, buy more product, and then I have to get more sales first and buy more product, right? Whereas Kickstarter right now, I get the money first and I buy the product. So that is a different story than what I have in the past. Like, the way that I get funding is no longer bootstrap. It's more of like, you create a campaign, get people support you, and then you can start it import from China and then fulfill the order to the client, right? So me, myself, I ran for my brand. I think we ran 5 to 6 campaigns. And then I started sharing the journey to the Chinese audience. And that comes in the time where Amazon became too competitive, because selling on Amazon back in 2013 is easy, because you can just go to the Chinese manufacturer, go to Canton Fair, and then just bring it to Amazon, snap your label on it, and that's it, right? We call it white label. So you just get an existing cup and then put your brand name, and then that's your brand, right? Everyone can create a brand. Easy, right? At a point, it becomes like, when if my customer bought my brand, and if his friend gonna ask him, oh, where did you buy the brand? Where did you buy this cup? He's not gonna say it's coming from ABC brand. He's gonna say, I got it from Amazon, because it's a Amazon brand, right? So the white label eventually is not generating asset. You are working for Amazon, and therefore you got no brand presence, right? Okay, plus at the time, Amazon is too competitive. Even right now, Amazon is too competitive, right? Because everyone is selling the same thing, right? So we, as an Amazon seller, we are forced to create new product to attract customer, either new label, either like a new color, new pattern, bundling, or new function or new utility on the product itself. And therefore, it's a new product, and therefore we can put it on Kickstarter. Right? And so, like, everyone on Amazon is going to the same path. Too competitive, very high cost per click, very high tag cost, like return total advertising cost of sales. I mean, that makes them think, no, that is not the way to build a brand. They need to build a long-term asset. And that's how we go to Kickstarter. Because Kickstarter offer you the community. When you launch product on Kickstarter, you build the community, you build your loyal follower, and you get the fund as well. And then you build a true brand. As a result, they are going to be a way better option on Amazon, because on Amazon, you don't get the funding. You have to pay the funding by yourself first, and then you bootstrap it, and then you buy it again from manufacturer again, and then you bootstrap it in that way, right? So you don't get the funding kind of thing from the backers. In Amazon, you launch it on Kickstarter, you can build a brand, like the community that they offer you, and launching on Kickstarter, you get all the asset that you have created. Imagine when we start selling on Amazon, we only sell on Amazon. You don't have to build the video. You don't have to build a UGC. You don't have to build the content or anything, because you can just upload a product, write the description, and that's your listing. Okay. Whereas Kickstarter offer you all the things after you finish your campaign. And therefore you can snowball down with the momentum running the Facebook ad and Google ad in the long run to attract customer. So you are essentially diversifying your risk on not just staying on Amazon, because it's really risky to just stay on Amazon, right? If you get suspended, remember, like back in the days, all your money is invest back into inventory. If you get suspended because of a competitor's attack, a hijacker trying to falsely claim that you are infringing their patent, right? Then your fund is going to hold up by Amazon. And then at the end of the day, you have no money to pay your employee, you have no money to pay your supplier, and your family livelihood might be in danger as well because you're relying on the fund that Amazon reimbursed you, right? And therefore, Kickstarter became a very good vehicle to diversify the risk that you are involved in. And that's why everyone just like, okay, let's do it. I mean, if I'm getting that much of benefit, let's do that, because I want to build a true brand that not 100% gonna rely on Amazon. So they can do 40% Amazon and 60% outside of Amazon. So we don't have to always play by the rule by Amazon. If someday that Amazon decided to suspend us, I can still have the other revenue from other places that is not controlled by a platform, it's controlled by me. So that's the story.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that resonates with me with risk reduction. If you only have one channel and that channel shuts down or goes away, you don't have any other channels, you're in trouble. I also like that you mentioned the fundamental difference between getting the funding first and then creating and shipping the product versus trying to create and ship product and get enough funding to buy more product. That's a very, very different strategy. And one thing that you mentioned that I think people overlook still with Kickstarter is that community building. It's not just launching a Kickstarter and watching money roll in and then shipping, right? It's about building and curating that community, having perks, having things that will make them feel special. And it's almost like you're curating your early adopters and you're addressing your risk with desirability. Do people want it? You're addressing some of the risk of viability because they are giving you money for it. You still have to figure out the feasibility backstage of whether you can build the product or whether you can white label or whatever it is you were doing to create the product. And you have to work through your backstage costs. But if you think about just simply de-risking something new, you're almost crazy not to try Kickstarter if you're in e-commerce, because there's so many tools available to you and you can pay down your risk versus trying to build and ship product and hope it sells. And I think the community aspect, it constantly gets overlooked. I like that you touched on that, because even though they may not be the mass market, there are those early adopters where you can start to learn from and take that learning and apply to other markets as well.
Exactly. That summed it up so well. Thank you, David.
Yeah, I love some of my corporate clients, because I coach corporations. They even go to Kickstarter, or more Indiegogo than Kickstarter now, because Kickstarter has some rules about that. But Indiegogo, I've seen big corporate brands launch things, and it's not like they need the money. I mean, they have all the money in the world. It's not that they need funding from customers. They want to know, does anybody care? Is there a market? So they'll test things and products, especially e-commerce, on Indiegogo and see if there's traction. And then they'll either do it under a Labs brand or an off brand or just really lightly branded. They're not leading with their giant corporate brand. And if it works, they bring it on brand. And if it doesn't, they shut it down and nobody cares, because there's no brand damage at all, because it was an Indiegogo thing. So you look at, like, Delta Faucets did one where they have this little rinser. It's almost like a bartender tool where you put the glass and it shoots water up into your glass and rinses it all out. And so they did it under a Labs brand called First Wave on Indiegogo. People loved it. Now you can find it on the Delta website under the Delta brand.
I didn't know that that's from Indiegogo. Like, the idea is coming from Indiegogo?
It is, yeah. And they don't talk about it.
I was like amazed when I look at that thing, the beer coming from the bottom. Like, it's mind blowing when it comes to come out back in the days.
Yeah, so it's not just startups anymore. Although I don't think it's as common with big companies. There are big companies using in the crowdfunding as well. And again, they don't need the money. They're just trying to test demand because they don't want to spend a lot of money on something that flops, in the market. What gets you excited now? You've learned so much over the years about e-commerce and how to build a brand and how to diversify your channels. And where do you see all this going with AI and everything? What gets you excited over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, what excites me right now is AI video UGC creation, because that really saves costs. Back in the days when we are trying to work with an influencer, we have to scout it. We have to look for it and then do the list of lead, look and then do a hyper-personalized outreach. And then they will quote you at £2,000, £3,000 or US dollar. And then that's ridiculous cost, right? It's so expensive. And then the result might not be promising as well. But AI is just getting crazy. You could just use AI audios, AI avatars, and then you could have just those people to talk about all the benefit and feature and story about your product. That saves the production cost, the video production cost, not in half, but in more than half, like 2/3. Because imagine waiting for the people, the influencer to do that with you, right? And because most of the influencer, they don't really generate sales. The big influencer, they only generate sales, right? So if you're looking for the content from the influencer, you might as well just use AI because they do the same function, whereas they don't generate sales, but then they generate content, right? So AI did all those things for you. And so that excites me because right now, my video production, I'm able to test more hooks, test more angles. I don't have to be limited by what is the influencer is saying, right? And if I'm testing different audience, if I'm selling a cup, I can have a hook that is targeting to office workers, work from home mom, like maybe office directors, right? So because all the message to director and workers, they're going to be different, right? Back in the days, you are just relying on the influencer to talk about that to a specific audience. So the multiplier is going to be bigger if we want to test much more wider audience in the future. So that's one of the AI things that we're doing. Another AI things is AI blogging. So if we want to do the blogging, not for the sake of say SEO, but we want to do blogging for a specific knowledge or places, right? Of course, it doesn't have to be too technical. We have a brand who do AI blogging for traveling, right? Travel, the AI knows about all the facts already, right? And so if you use those to talk about a specific location and then give them a keyword, ask them to refine it and then come up with all the facts, top 5 facts and top culture and history, and that will become your blog that would rank on Google, right? Of course, AI cannot do how to run ad on Facebook or Amazon PPC because they are too technical. They will not be able to come up with the jargon or the actual method, right? So, but an AI blogging in general, for just a normal brand, that is actually a very effective way to churn out more content, because what we do is we go on to make.com, we ask them to create the content and then distribute across to all the platform and even try to create a video and distribute into X or maybe Facebook or maybe YouTube, right? And on our blog as well automatically. So that is something that we don't abuse it, but we use it strategically.
Yeah, it sounds like it lets you test faster with more segments at a cheaper cost, which is, obviously exciting because we talk about value propositions and it sounds as if you can go after these subsegments with very specific video created content conveying a value prop in the words that they understand, and you can test and see what resonates. Things that work, you can amplify if you want. Things that don't work, you can shut down, and you're not necessarily waiting for an agency or somebody to get back to you on the creation of all that, and you're not referencing or relying on an influencer who maybe has just one target. So let's say you go to Instagram and it's some sort of makeup influencer. They're going to have a very specific target versus Twitch doing video games and you're trying to sell video game apparel or something. It feels as if you can just close that learning loop and learn so much faster leveraging AI and drive the cost down.
One thing I'm doing as well with AI, just didn't realize, I didn't know that, I didn't mention about that. We are building a product right now. It's actually a retractable cable that serves as desktop organization, right? So that's a product we're developing right now, today, okay. I think what we're going to do in the future, we'll build a brand. But then with AI, what we do is we ask AI to design the outlook of the product. We draw the base because I have a 3D printer from Bamboo Lab. So I just print it out, but then I just print the fundamental one, like just a square box for the sizing, and then put the retractable cable inside to test the function. But with AI, my box is no longer just a box. I was able to go onto Makerspace to find a very nice images, a 3D model, and I can just put that 3D model into the box. So that is one way that I can really quickly test out a lot of different shape for my boxes about that retractable cable, right? So I have 3 different scenarios. One is using it over the table, under the table, and then next to the bed, right? So we can just retract it and then just bounce back, right? And then that is what we're creating. And with AI, we don't have to use too much effort to do the drawing because all the detailing is done by AI. So that's one of the rapid prototyping that we are doing right now for our brand.
Oh, so not just copy and content, but literally product design as well. That's exciting. I want to thank you so much. We've covered everything from how you bootstrapped your own eBay business and learned how to brand things and automate things, to Amazon, to Kickstarter, to using AI for content and branding and even product design. If people listen to this and they want to reach out to you or they need your help, what's the best way for them to get hold of you?
Just go to omerang.com, or you can reach me in LinkedIn as Digital Dylan. In omerang.com, we offer free courses because we believe anyone should be able to start a business. We don't help small business because I believe small business require a lot of effort to get started. Because if you haven't started a business, you can just come to our website, claim the free courses on how to start on Amazon or how to start on Dropshipping or Kickstarter. They're all free, right? Because we believe that if you can success, then we can have you success in the future as well. So yeah, just feel free to get it from our website.
That's amazing. So we'll make sure to include those links on the detail page as well. Thank you so much, Dylan, for hanging out with us. I was fascinated by your story, and I'm really excited to see where all this AI stuff takes you as well. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you for listening to another episode of How I Tested That, where we share stories about experimentation, tips, and tricks. If you learned something new, please recommend us to a friend or colleague. And remember, keep testing your ideas.